some of these,
Just-
it was amazing. We had like one day.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. This beautiful day. We do have cheerleading practicing outside, so, or right outside our window. So if you hear that, that's what that is. Do we have any citizens that would like to address the board? Nope. Okay. Celebrations. Adam.
Good evening, board members. Celebrations for this evening. First story that's posted to the website, which is for the 7th consecutive year, Williamston High School was listed amongst the best in the United States, so 7 years running. It's based on a variety of different items, including participation in the state assessment program, AP, et cetera. So more information is available if you're curious, but that is a nice recognition for the high school. Obviously, every one of these different systems and publications that has a top schools list uses different data to accumulate those. The ones we tend to look at most are the state scorecard results, because those are based on the actual student achievement and growth data, amongst some other things. It's not a perfect system, but that's the one we focus most on. By getting these awards is a nice accomplishment as well. This past week, we did the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Mary Marshall tennis facility, and I think we have just a brief clip we can show of that event.
Scissors are working well.
Almost out, but and the scissors did eventually cut the rope or ribbon. So those have some final things that need to be done. Windscreen's not up. They need to do some joint sealing in some of the gaps on the court, but those can be done over the next month, and they are fully open. So obviously our team had their first meet last week as part of the home meet, as part of the ribbon cutting ceremony immediately following that. Open to the public as well. We have that information out on the sign downtown, trying to get the word out, and then once we have everything complete and we get a couple more photographs of the facility, we'll post that as an independent story and then update our facilities page as well. Also on the website, I know we talked about this, but I didn't have the story posted yet, so just to make sure it's highlighted, so back on the district homepage, perhaps, we had our Be Nice Spirit Week, which was the last week of August. Very successful event in terms of participation and continuing the constant drumbeat to get the word out, not only to our schools, but also to the community around the focus on student mental health, suicide prevention that the Be Nice program strives to do. It is very much a student-led effort, but we have some fantastic staff who are facilitating that. And I think the evidence of their hard work is evident in the number of students that are part of the Be Nice crew. So at the high school alone, the first year we tried this, we had about 6 students involved, and as you can see from the photograph now, we were somewhere around 50 students or so that participated and actually went over to the elementary school that Friday. So it's just something we continue to push forward on and continue to make positive progress towards, but obviously one of our most important initiatives for our most important reason, which is the health and welfare of our students. Less important, but fun was, I'd just like to congratulate the staff and coaches for our football team who defeated Mason last Friday, 28-0. That score has been closely analyzed in the Spina household throughout the weekend. But I gotta say that just in terms of just total fun, not serious type of thing, that was probably one of the more fun Williamston athletic competitions I've been at over, I don't know, couple decades plus I've been in the district, and it was just a really cool night and a good time, and kids did great. Our student section was great, cheerleaders were great, just a really fun night. And then lastly, this is homecoming week, so obviously themes each day. There's, I think it's tonight's the Powder Puff game, and then there's the bonfire for the students at the high school, pep rally, obviously the parade, dance, all those types of things. There's also spirit weeks at all the schools. So today was mismatch day at the elementary campus, because that's the only one I can keep track of. So I went all in with different colored socks, which is about as creative as I get. But it was really fun, and just another just positive, enjoyable event that we look forward to sharing with the community as a whole on Friday with the parade and the game. A lot to celebrate, and we always look forward to inviting all of our community to join us for these special events. So that is celebrations for this evening. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Moving on, our educational update. And Wade, thank you so much for joining us.
Well,
today.
thanks for having me. This is super exciting to be here and tell you about my experience in India. Thank you for your support, and thanks to my principal who suggested I apply for this Fulbright. I meant to set a timer, so you're going to stop me in 10 minutes, right? I was told 10 minutes. February of 2 years ago, I applied for this Fulbright opportunity with Global Classrooms, and Steve Delp and my colleague Megan O'Rourke wrote me wonderful glowing letters of recommendation. So I got accepted. So I found out that I guess was last 18 months. So anyway, February 24. And then, so exactly like a year ago, I found out that I got accepted. The fall, you can go to the next slide. I don't know who's got the slideshow. There we go. So ultimately, it was 19 teachers from 17 different states. There were about 83 total that were accepted. We went to, between the 83 of us, we went to 4 different countries. Our group went to India, and we were the last group to travel. Even like a week before, one of our groups was supposed to go to Morocco. They got canceled, like 2 weeks before they were supposed to go. So even going to India, we were kind of nervous that it might not happen, but it happened. So we were super excited about that. So we went to the stars on the United States represent the different states where the teachers were from. I was the only one from Michigan going to India. And then the states below, the cities below that are highlighted in India are the different cities we all got kind of dispersed to. Go ahead to the next slide. So in the fall, starting like now, exactly a year ago, for the next 10 weeks, we spent hours each week learning about the strategic development goals of the United Nations. We learned about sources for global education. We applied this to our classrooms. They made us connect with another teacher from the United States. And so like my students in first hour introduced themselves to students in New Jersey at a high school there, and the students in New Jersey. So we had the kids each make like PowerPoints, and they introduce themselves and like what your interests are, what you do for fun, what grade you're in, that sort of thing. And then their students sent them back to us. And all their students were recent immigrants from the Dominican Republic, like within the last 2 years. So all their students responded in Spanish, so my students had to use their Spanish skills to decipher what the student said. And that conversation went back and forth about 3 different times with a math teacher of all curricular areas. So the cool thing is, like, this Fulbright is not just for social studies, it's not just for language educators, it's for all educators. So I traveled with a music teacher, I traveled with an art teacher, I traveled with a couple math teachers, there were a couple science teachers on our program, so lots of diversity and available K-12, so that was the amazing piece of this as well. So once we did the interschool exchange, again, every week I had to stretch my knowledge of technology. I created a PowerPoint, which I meant to share with you, and I can still share that with you too, that has like resources on it, and just stretching my things as my tools as a teacher was a lot. So we did that for like 10 weeks, and then that was all remote. We had guest lectures, we had presentations from other former Fulbrighters. It was a lot. I felt like I had gone back to grad school for an entire like 10 weeks. In February of the next In February 25, we all met in Washington, D.C. in person. We stayed at Le Meridien. They put us up in a really nice hotel. I roomed with a woman from Colorado. Again, meeting educators from across the United States. If meeting people in your own professional area that are from across the country that have the same situations you have or very different situations, it's just, again, it blows your mind. It's just amazing. And then, so we met in February in person, and I was able to take Steve with me, and we were able to bring one administrator, and so he met other administrators from across the United States. And the idea is to bring global education back to our community and to have Steve kind of like get kind of inducted, but he knew about it because he told me to go on this trip. So to kind of bring that back to Williamston, and part of our goal is to help make the students more globally minded and rounded. So that was February, and then between February and May, we worked on our websites, we worked on learning about India. I found out December 20th, our last day of school before winter break, that I was going to India, that it would be in the summer, so it wouldn't conflict with any of my teaching duties here at school. And I was really excited, but also really nervous, because I've traveled to Europe, I've traveled across the United States, but going to India is a whole new ball game. 10 hours ahead of us, extreme heat, monsoon rains, different, yes, they all speak English, but it's a different dialects, different cultures, different norms. I'm dressed in a skirt that represents the colors of the society, and that I picked up at the store across the street from where we stayed. And I felt like this is a typical dress for women. Like, you wouldn't see women with their upper arms exposed. They would be dressed all the way down to their ankles. So I felt like, oh, I had to really dress. I mean, I dress pretty modestly anyway, but it was even like step up your game for modesty. So just learning all those norms that go along with international travel. Next slide. When we go to India, we have to come up with a guiding question of what we're looking for. So like when we meet up with the school that we're paired up with, my question was kind of influenced by an experience that Steve had in Okemos. And so my question was, how do you create an inclusive community? There's a big focus in India on women's education. There's a big focus on the special needs community. It's very similar to our special needs community. How do you help include all the children of the different abilities? And then in India, the caste system plays a role in that as well. How do you include the children from very different areas when your children might be definitely college bound and coming from a higher income family? And then we learned even more about the reading abilities. So in India, there's 1,600 official languages. Hindi and English are the top two, but in the states that I visited in Gujarat, the #1 language spoken was Gujarati. Well, namaste is about all I got from Gujarati, but is also similar to Hindi. And so that was just eye-opening as well. Like, at least when I compared it to the United States, at least in the United States, we pretty much all speak English. We pretty much all understand English. And if not, maybe Spanish is the next language, but there's not 1,600 official languages that you might have to navigate on any given moment. So in the next slide, I talked about those different schools we visited. So the focus was on education. We didn't do quite as much sightseeing as I thought we would, which is fine. It was crazy hot. Like I posted, it's really hot. It's really hot here. So you go out and you melt, and you've just stood there so far. So to go to a lot of touristy sites would just not be healthy. So the first school we visited is a private school. It was developed by a Sikh organization that started in Pakistan. When India went through partition, the school moved to Delhi, and their focus is on lower income students. And they focused on reading. They have a very small library. And then when you're reading, do you read in the mother tongue of the children? Do you read in Hindi? Do you read in English? How do you get your little ones to learn how to become literate individuals in the society? So the Khalsa school was focusing on that. At that school, nothing was air conditioned except for the library. So hopefully you'd find the children in the library because the classrooms were very warm. There were fans in the room, but there's no windows. And so, things that fly in, and hopefully there's no monkeys. The Delhi public school was quite amazing. They greeted us. There's a picture of me getting the little ones put bindis on our foreheads, and they had music and dance, and they had a big school assembly outside when they greeted us. I also learned India focuses on mindfulness, and so we had a mindfulness lesson. There was one of the students gave us a lesson on kindness. So look at those cross-cultural connections everybody's got issues with students and kindness and trying to help promote that within their schools. Our last school we visited, which was like the day before we left, was a Sanskriti school, or 2 days before we left. It's private, but it gets some public funds, which means, and the Sanskriti school is also in Delhi, and they have to accept 25% of their student body has to be from the slum that's just on the other side of the wall for the school. So they have a big like school compound, sort of like, let's say this is your school compound, and you'd have a big fence around it in all the cities we went to. And just on the other side of that fence might be a slum area. So I asked those students, like, how do you get your students to accept one another? And apparently one of the rules is like, if your child in second grade has a birthday party, they have to invite all the children in the classroom. They can't just select their closest friends or the students from the same caste as they are. So they're really trying to be mindful about welcoming as many students and trying to bridge those gaps of economic understanding. At the next slide. Okay, so we spent 5 days in Delhi. I might be off on my days. We arrived on Sunday night at midnight, and then the following Thursday, we left for our individual cities. And so I traveled with a woman from Iowa. That's, oh gosh, why am I blanking on her name right now? I'm so sorry. Oh, Luann, because they kept mixing up our names because I'm Ann and she's Leanne. And so they're like, how can you be Leanne when your name should just be Ann? So they call us both Ann. And the woman we were hosted by is Kashmira Jaiswal. She is a former Fulbrighter. So all the teachers, we went to the different cities throughout India, and we were hosted by people who studied in the United States. So Kashmira had lived in New York State for 6 months. She actually lived in Albany for 6 months, working with the university there. And that was in 2015, and now it was her turn to host us. And as you can see, they had huge like welcome banners for us. The banner's hanging in the library at the high school, if you haven't seen it. I asked if I could get the banner, and she said, sure. So there's this banner with my face on it, and there was one in the downtown area of Gujarat, and so they sent us, or Vadodara, and they sent us a picture of, like, they have, the schools there, those private schools especially, celebrate, like, their students who are high achieving, and they'll put up banners in the downtown area. They celebrate their staff that just achieved a certain award, and they'll put up a big banner. And the banners are up for about a week, so it's sort of like your billboards, and so there was a billboard welcoming us to the city of Vadodara. So I just found that really intriguing. So very welcoming, very open. Gujarat is on the west coast of India. It is a dry state. It's the only dry state in India because Gandhi was from Gujarat. So when I found out Gandhi was from Gujarat, we said, can we go see where Gandhi used to live? And so we went to like one of his last ashrams. We took a 2-hour terrifying taxi ride. Strike that from the record, but it was really, anyway, I'll tell you later off the record. We didn't have seatbelts in the back seat. It was a taxi driver. It was India driving on expressways that are not as well paved as Williamston Road is. So it was scary. But anyway, the whole goal was to make this connection between Williamston schools and then the national Navrachana International School in Vadodara. The next slide. Oh, I wanted to make an Indian connection to Spartan. If you go to the dairy store at MSU, this is the display that's at MSU because this gentleman, Verghese Kirian, went to Michigan State in the 1950s. When he went back to India, he promoted local families to own their own cows and then to take the milk that the cows produced and sell it in a centralized location so they could make some money off of their cows. And so as I'm making a Michigan connection, I went to the dairy store like a week before I left, and I'm like, oh, he's from Gujarat. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then so what they said that he's the father of what they call the White Revolution in terms of the milk production in India, cheese production, dairy production, yogurt production, and ice cream. So we had some of the ice cream that's produced by this guy's company. The name is escaping me at the moment. But if you go to MSU, look for that India-MSU connection. The next slide. So at NISCB, we stayed there from Thursday until the following Wednesday. Again, I might be off on my days. Maybe it was Friday to Thursday. It's a private school with boarding. So we are not private. I've never been in a private school, but they have their own houses like Harry Potter does. You know, the children start at like kindergarten, assigned to a house, and they graduate all the way K-12 in that same house. So they want to represent the house. They want to compete with the other houses. So that's kind of cool in terms of building the older kids with younger kids connections all the way through. So the different colored shirts that the kids are wearing in the top right image is like representing their houses at that time. And then we met the woman who is the founder of the nonprofit school, and they presented us. We had lunch. We had a lot of lunches. We had a lot of food. The food was amazing. I never got sick. It was provided to us by the school. Okay, so they made it fresh at the school. We met the cook. She was amazing. She serves 80 students, well, maybe 180 students who live there full time, and then the other 1,000 that come in during the day. And then we would sit down at like 10 o'clock for like second breakfast, and they would provide tea for us, and then baked goods. And then we'd come back in at 1 o'clock for a really big lunch. It was just lots of food, lots of good food. If you thought you're going to lose weight in India, that wasn't happening. They were not going to let you. But this school had both the CBSE program, which is a college bound for just India universities, and an IB program. And like I mentioned, they're divided into the different schools, K-12. So that was really cool. And then if you go to the next slide, so we also had to present to one of the classes. We presented to a group of ninth graders. That's us at the end of our presentation in the bottom right corner. Leanne presented on the U.S. government, and I presented on the U.S. geography. And before I started, I said, how many of you have been to the United States? And like a third of the class had raised their hands. Granted, this is a private school. 2 of them had even been to Ann Arbor because they had cousins who went to University of Michigan. So there was a lot of connections. They were very familiar with U of M. They were familiar with MSU because they knew they sent students overseas to study. So there was I was in a pretty privileged area to be. So they have, our teacher was the principal, that's what she was called, but then she also has sub-principals under her. So she runs the whole building, but they run the grade levels. So there were sub-principals for the K2 group, another principal for the 3 to 5 group, another principal in charge of 6-8, another principal for the high school. And so they were also hosts to us and took us around town and took us to some of the sites. And then within the school, as soon as you enter, there's tributes to some of their patriotic leaders, and certainly, and you can see the fence there where it says I Heart NISV, and you can see that there's the barbed wire above of that, so that again was common. And then in the next slide, we were able, they had me playing basketball one time. And then but they had a big celebration of their learning. And so they brought in the kids K through 12 who showed us different projects that they had done during the year. So the top left is their second graders and their drip irrigation project. In the picture right below is sixth graders and their project to try to keep old family recipes alive by creating a poster about it. And then at the end of this, they'd be like, okay, Ann, will you say a few words? They'd be like, you guys all did a great job. You were, amazing educators. It's great to be here from Michigan, and thank you so much for your welcome. And we met with all the different curricular areas. I was really impressed with their, so my mom, who passed away 3 years ago, was a music teacher, and so I was raised in a music home, and so I was really impressed with their finance program. They had 2 full-time dance instructors, so we learned some of the traditional dance. So that's the other part of it too, is every region, oh my gosh, okay, sorry. Every region has their own dance, every region has their own fabric, every region has their own language, every region has their own food. So what I experienced in Gujarat will not be what the people experienced in Hyderabad or in the other cities where my colleagues went. So it was just amazing. And so now, if you go to the next slide, we also went to the Teachers College. That was one of our last trips as well, where the students at the Teachers College sang to us. Can you imagine going to MSU? We're going to the College of Education, and then they greet you with the candles lit is in honor of learning, and then they sing to you, and you're and then we had a math lesson, so that was very cool, and I brought that back and showed our math department. But in India, if you're going into elementary education, you only need 2 years of college, and if you're going for secondary, you need 4. So secondary, I would assume you need to do your major and then take your 2 years of education. So that was, again, another difference between what we've got going on and what India has going on. And then our next slide. So these are some of the field trips we went on. Taj Mahal, of course. In the bottom center is another Fulbrighter. She actually had worked in the Smithsonian to work on traditional stories and ethnic groups. And so when we went to India, she told us her own ethnic groups. Behind her are snake charmers. So she had the snake charmers perform for us because in the monsoon season, the snakes come out of their holes because their holes get filled up. So you got to keep the snakes out of the streets. So that's a thing. Monkeys were in the school. Sometimes you have to have the monkey shoer, get the school clear of the monkeys. I've been using some of these images in my classes because I've taught about the tall tower there that was built by the Muslims on top of like Hindu sites. The palace in the bottom right is a Rajasthani palace that was built in Gujarat. And so we just talked about that. If your students are, do I have any of your kids right now? I have yours, but he's not in AP World. But he was in AP World, so you can ask him about the Rajput states in northern India. So yeah, just question Ajax tonight. So yeah, that was, and then, so the last thing I just had to do was finish I had to write a 2-page minimum paper on my guiding question of inclusivity. And I'm still, it's pretty much finished. I got some edits that I have to do. And then I also have had to create my website, which is a huge stretch for me. And I'll share it with you. But it was a stretch for me. I'm not as dynamic as some of the other younger generations in website design. So the cool thing is I wasn't the oldest person on the trip, so I really appreciate that. And that was, yeah, really cool. The next slide. Yeah, and the food was amazing. My favorite, okay, so last week I went to Curry House in East Lansing. Really great food. I highly recommend it. I had never been, and it's right near Trowbridge and Harrison, so get a shout out to Curry House. One of my students recommended it, and so we went there and I had the gulab jamun, which is my new favorite dessert. So yeah, which is kind of like a donut soaked in syrup, and it's super sweet. And then the top right is the traditional Gujarati food that's served in like small bowls, and then you dip the bread in the different bowls to like eat it. So yeah, everything was really new. Your brain is on fire the whole time, whether it's like from the food you're eating, to the clothes you're wearing, to the language you're hearing, to how the people greet you, and it's just, when I went to bed exhausted because I think my brain was full every night with all the experiences I was having. So my goal I think I have one more slide or two, wrapping up. They literally put us in a Asarian last night, and then we followed the people going to the Ganges for a holy pilgrimage back to the airport. They put us on a plane and sent us home. The next slide. Oh, and then so for the next step, as I'd like to continue the connection with NISV, they have a Model United Nations program, so I hope to connect my Model UN students with their Model UN students. Maybe we can do a virtual conference, I don't know, or maybe I could take Model UN students to Vadodara, dare I say? Adam, that face, not so much. Okay, it's okay. And then collaborating with the social studies staff there and sharing of resources. They had some really great ideas that they were doing Canva and what they're doing in their classrooms to promote world history education. And then possibly looking at developing a global scholars program for Williamston High School grads and opening it up to all students who want to challenge themselves maybe outside the Williamston community to expand their learning opportunities. So that's possibly what's next. So any questions or comments or?
What is their school year?
Yep.
Because you were there during the summer. So
Yep.
what is their school, I mean?
So they were out in May and June, and then they go back in like early July. And so we were there like 4 weeks into the new, when was I there? Like 3 weeks into the new semester, into the new year. May is really hot. I as soon as I found out India and where, I put that on my weather app. And like May was over 100, and I'm like, holy cow. So we went when it was a little bit cooler, only in the 90s.
It's hot.
Yeah.
Aaron did a study abroad in India, and it was hot.
Yeah. Yes.
She came back freezing for the next month.
Uh-huh.
And it was
It's been a
90.
lovely summer here.
Yeah. No, it's nothing. I had another question, but I have to find where I wrote it down.
Oh, okay.
Anybody else have any?
Sounds like a wonderful opportunity.
It really was, and I learned so much more than I even expected. I have a list of like 100 resources that I want to get back to because there was so much that they gave us. And we're hoping that the State Department continues this type of program. There's a teacher from Howell who just got accepted to this new program, to the next year cohort. And so they are, still taking applications and still open. So right now it's all a go. And we're hoping that, we can continue these collaborations with overseas schools and opportunities because it's such a vital part of our society. And how do we work as global humans to be better people overall, so.
So when you apply, did you list did they tell you where you might be going?
Yeah,
Did
well,
you list, or did you?
You get to choose a region of the world, and you get to choose the time. So I chose summer and Europe. The full disclosure, because I'm like, this is already a lot of work. I think I'll just go with Europe. But then none of the options were Europe, so it was all like South America. They went to Uruguay, Peru, Morocco. No, Morocco did not go. Senegal and India. So India was, just amazing. Very European influence too. Yeah.
Were your expenses covered, or did you have to?
Yep, they gave us a stipend of $1,700 to cover so when we go to Vadodara, we had to pay for our own hotel, and that helped cover that, and for any of our food we had while we were there. And then, I think I spent it all on the hotel and the food. I can't remember, there were some other, like our taxis and like some of the transportation. But the school, and then they cover everything once you're in India as well. So the flights, the company, so it's through the State Department, but then they have another company that they contracted out that does all the education piece of that. Then they have another company that they contract out for all the travel expenses and everything. So, but it was a lot of work. Like I have to edit my paper. Like this is a lot of work. So.
No relaxing summer.
Sorry?
No relaxing summer.
It was not a relaxing summer. All of June, I was worried about traveling to India, and then once I got there, and then once I got home, it was just all debrief. Like you just okay, to be home again in familiar climate and territory.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sharing this.
I'm sorry I went over time, so you're welcome.
You are the most exciting thing I think we have.
Okay.
You can go as long as you want.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good luck with the rest of your
It was
meeting,
lovely.
and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I
Come
think
back
one of
anytime.
Okay.
just to jump in at the end, one of the things that Ann also did is during in-service week, she did a very nice presentation for the high school staff about her experience. But I think broader than that, I think Ann has done a fantastic job of communicating with her colleagues about all the other opportunities, right? She's given, examples of just touching the surface of all the other examples that can be had within the education profession if you're willing to go and look for those things, and as she mentioned, do the extra work to get involved. I think a lot of times we get into this, grind where it's like, your classroom responsibilities and all that entails. And sometimes you become kind of, very narrow focus and just kind of getting through the week or getting through the day. There are a lot of opportunities out there for educators, and I think on a broader level, I think Ann's PD for the high school staff hopefully kind of maybe broaden their horizons, that there's a lot more out there if you seek it out. And so Ann's, pioneered new courses at the high school. She's nationally board certified and taking advantage of those initiatives. I think one of less than 400 teachers in the state, and now with the Fulbright. So it's the experience is fantastic, but I think the broader message to our staff about the possibilities that are out there was also invaluable.
Has there been any talk of anybody else kind of applying or looking, or are people?
I might have scared them off with all the work I did last fall. So, some people, yes, there is one other person who might be interested. When Steve told me about this opportunity, I wanted to wait till all my kids were done with high school. So some of it's like your own personal life and what's going on. So some people might be interested in a few more years when personal life calms down a little bit. I don't know if it ever calms down though, as being like parents of adults, it's like, could you guys just get your stuff together? Anyway,
Yes.
But I don't have any control over you, so anyway.
I hear you.
But yeah.
I hear you.
But yeah, I just feel like you're never done learning, and I want my students to know that too. And you guys, I tell my students, fact check me, go back and read the book, go back and find out what these other resources say, and please don't stop. Just because the bell rings doesn't mean you're done learning for the day. So just because the school year ends doesn't mean you're done learning for whatever. So keep on learning. This is true for all of you. Keep on learning. Great experiences out there.
Yeah, amazing experience.
Thank you.
So fun.
So namaste. Have a great night.
Thank you, you too. Thank you so much. It's so appreciated. Okay, superintendent report.
All right, well, hard to follow that, but I'll try. So upcoming meetings on the 29th, there's a policy committee meeting scheduled, and on the 6th of October is our next regular board meeting. Moving on to bond updates. A lot of time has been, well, actually, as you drove in today, you probably saw the progress on the softball facility. That's still on pace. We are just waiting on, I think I signed like 6 change orders this afternoon, but they were good. They actually saved us money. I think we're still waiting on roofing to get finalized as far as the contractor, but we just finished up the landscaping agreement last week, and so still on pace to be done. Superintendent's hoping to have it done in February, but the timeline still is March. Either way, it would be done in time for the season next year. A lot of time's being spent on the HVAC unit for the high school pool, community pool. Unfortunately, the estimate on the actual device is doubled in price since the time of the Treasury application, and so that has brought the price for the overall project estimated to be about twice as much as it was initially thought to be. But this is pre-bid, so we'll see how that all shakes out once we get through the formal bidding process. The other complication with that project is the actual device itself has, as of now, an estimated 26-week lead time. So Chrisman is expediting getting that out into the marketplace so that we can get bids, and we anticipate being able to bring that project to the board for approval in October versus some of the others that'll happen later in the fall, early winter. If all that goes to plan, and they are really pushing to get the timeline as soon as possible, the current plan is to start that the day school, the first Monday after school gets out, which I believe is the 11th perhaps of June. And it will take the bulk of the summer. It's going to kind of come down to the wire again, just like tennis courts this past summer. They tried to get that in so that the swim team has access to the pool starting next fall. So really pushing on that one to try to get it done, but it is a priority because that HVAC system, which is original to the pool, could go at any time. We've already had a sensor that one's out, and we had to get replaced. It's not serviced anymore. They don't make parts for it anymore. So if that thing goes, that's it. So one of the reasons why the bond was so important, but also one of the reasons we're trying to prioritize this project. Moving on to Explore, still a lot of time left, or still a lot of focus, time being spent working on some of the details of Explore. We're really looking at some of the more minor items now as part of the design process, such as, well, big thing, we picked out the exterior color last week, which is, I think, zinc gray, but it's nice because it ties into the school color schemes. It was also the cheapest color option, which was also important, but it was either everybody's first or second choice, as I understand it. And then just small things like, Keith Claxton's looking at like what striping he wants on the floor of the gym that will best facilitate his curriculum. We're looking at like what doors will have the access card readers put on them inside the school. So we're really down to that level of planning now. And again, we anticipate that project going out to bid here in the next few weeks, actually. And then the board will see all those different bids later this fall, early winter. So. Those are the updates for the bond this evening. Are there any questions on any of this that I can address?
All right, Sarah, ISOA.
So we met about a week and a half ago. It was our first big meeting of the new school year, and every first meeting we have Jennifer Smith from MASB give a legislative update, and she's always very informative, usually upbeat or tries to spin it, but unfortunately there wasn't a lot of positive updates from her just because we don't have a budget, and the deadline is October 1st. The good news is there's lots of money available, so this isn't about money. It's just about how the governor, the House, and the Senate all want to spend it, and everyone has different ideas as to what that will look like. So Jennifer did not seem optimistic as of the time of this meeting on September 3rd that there would be a budget passed by October 1st. However, things could drastically change, and there could be negotiations, concessions, you know how it goes within politics. Just for reference, the 2 times in the last that we can think of where the budget, or I'm sorry, the state did end up shutting down was 2007 and 2009. Both were just for, I think one was for 3 hours in '07 and one was maybe for 6 in '09. However, there's a lot that goes into thinking that there will be a government shutdown, and Jennifer just said, you know, people think that you're saving money when you shut down, when actually you're not. So you actually spend more money when you have a looming shutdown occurring. So again, not much positive. You know, she's pretty upbeat with some things and not a lot. There was one that I wanted to draw your attention to, which is the cell phone bill. The vote did fail just because Republicans did not have enough votes to carry it through. They needed some Democrats to jump on board. Just because it failed does not mean that it will not come back up. It will come back up. It's just delayed but not stopped at this point. And then Jason gave a superintendent's roundtable update, and we had district updates. I did want to say that I voiced our board displeasure that a school hops, jump and a skip away from us was advertising to our students, and how we did not appreciate that. And so I opened it up for discussion. I am the ISOA president, and so there will be further discussions in other future ISOA meetings around that. And then the last thing is some meeting dates. Typically, we meet via Zoom. However, I wanted to let you know that on November 5th, that meeting will be in person, and it will be a tour of the Beekman Center. So if you don't know what the Beekman Center is, or if you've never been there before, I would highly encourage you to come and look at it. It was Lansing district funded and operated, and the ISD has taken that over now, and so it is had some improvements that I think would be essential for us to know about. And that's all.
Any questions for Sarah?
Is the cell phone bill a banning of cell phones in schools?
It's yes. Go ahead, Adam.
It would look very similar to what
I was just gonna
we
say
have.
that.
So it would be, and again, it'll depend on the next iteration, but very similar to what we're doing. Can't have it at the elementary at all. Middle school, there's a little more latitude. In high school, there's a little bit more, but the high school focus was just like us, keeping it out of the classrooms to preserve instructional time. So this was one I wasn't really worried about, because if it had passed, we were pretty much already doing that. And as you've even seen in the notes from ISOA, there's several more districts that have adopted the same policy, or are enforcing the policies on cell phones they already had but didn't enforce. So
And there's
it is,
also a caveat to the bill that just like here, with our policy, that it's up to teacher discretion too. So if it is meant for instructional time, then students can use it. But again, it mirrors our policy very much.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Discussion items. There's several overnight trips. And you might not be able to answer this. Some of these trips, I'm assuming, so for example, one is for the Business Professionals of America. This would be their national conference. So people have to, I'm assuming, I think kids have to qualify for this, or is this an automatic that we have 3 to 5 kids going, or is this?
they do have to qualify for it.
5? So if in any of these trips, if there are more kids that qualified or more kids that are going, will they let us know, or do they just know they need to make sure they have an adequate number of chaperones?
I think they
How-
would not let you know, and just understood that they're still working under the the broader
That broader.
umbrella of the details of the trip. The big win there, though, is that EPA is back this year. Dana Paxton was ready to restart that co-curricular, and so that's a big win that students will have that opportunity again.
Are there any questions about any of these?
You might get a few more. There's some stragglers. I know there's one in particular that still trying to work out some details on, but we have not approved them yet as administration, so I'll keep you updated, obviously, if any others are hashed out later on in the year.
And then the other is the German exchange trip, yes. Are we having the German exchange students coming here this year again?
I haven't asked. They usually come around this time of year, though, so
Like in
find
October?
out.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're planning on going there June 10th through the 22nd.
I guess I assumed they were coming, but I'll find out.
Any questions about these? Okay, we can move them to vote in October. Next, theater production class.
It's just a curriculum approval for the show the course we'll be putting on this year. I've done a search, Google search, didn't see anything that looked controversial or inappropriate, but feel free to also do your own research. But looked solid from what I could tell.
If any questions or anything come up about this, you need to get them to Adam before we vote, otherwise we'll move it for the October meeting. We have 2 leave requests. Adam, is there anything you want to add to this?
No, they're pretty straightforward. Two staff traveling outside the country for family reasons temporarily, so support both requests.
Well, we have to, do we need someone to will a sub be hired for them, or will things just?
Yeah, the building will need to work out, cross-coverage
Cross with
support, possibly use their building subs to cover down during that period.
All right. I'm sorry, I just thought I glanced at one of the dates. Benefits. Okay, well, we'll vote on them in October.
Yeah, won't one already be in?
Yeah.
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 All right, winter property taxes. Anything you wanna,
Nothing in particular
Tell us,
to
except
add.
we have to
It's
pay our
the
taxes.
usual. We'll just see our heavy hedge working for us on that second line, so that's good, but these are just our typical winter property tax.
any questions about paying our taxes? Need to pay our taxes? All right, up next, superintendent's evaluation. The exciting part of the evening. Because we're talking about Adam, he has a right to request this in closed session. Would you like this to be done in closed session, Adam?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so, I've had several conversations with Adam about this and how this works. I think we'll go through it. And then I think we might need to backtrack. I still am really caught on the percentages. And I think should just finagle those to, like the board goals and the things that we weight heavier, should be the same for Adam, if not more, if not teachers. So I think when we talked, you could move those numbers around, or different percentages. So we'll look at that separately. First, let's just go through this and this is a discussion, so if there is something that you don't understand, or there's something that you need Adam to kind of give us more clarity on, or you clarity, or to figure out what he actually does in that area, feel free to ask him to clarify. So I'm gonna start, we're gonna just go through it. I will keep well, I guess, Chris, do you want to keep the consensus one, or do you want me to just write it down on this sheet of paper, or what would be easier for you? I should have asked you way before now. Sorry.
Give me a second, and
That would have been good to do.
I can open up a separate one. Give me a second.
So we'll start with A. We'll just gonna go right through. So the governance. Most of these are how the board and Adam interact. I'll wait for Chris.
Sorry,
No, I should have done this earlier, so that's on me.
you're fine. I'm just trying to do a split screen on a very small monitor.
Do you want us to start the conversation just about this, or do you want us to wait? I'm okay waiting.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, so, I'm just gonna throw out the question, did anybody give a 2 in any of these categories to Adam?
No.
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 I think these are very straightforward of the effective points on this. He does all of this. I did get one board question about, Adam, so the very last one, A6, actively encourages the board development by board members with information regarding board development opportunities when they arise. I took that as being anything that we get from Troon, anything that we get from MASB. Sometimes will come to our board email. Betsy forwards that to us. But we also know that Adam loves those additional certificates and I don't know what else they would call, like those little things that you can get. He very much encourages our staff to do that as much as he encourages all of us to do that, and celebrates when any of us do that. So that's kind of what I took for that, if anybody was wondering. Not that he would send us to like RPD, but he does let us know when certain things are coming before they go through Betsy.
So that was a question that I asked Nancy, because Nancy gives approval for board classes, like the CBA classes that we take through MASB, but she has conversations directly with Adam, and so that was more so the question that I had, was how board development and what role he plays in that.
And I do want to say, not that I have, I mean, if you came to me and said, I want to go take cooking, we're going to say no. Or, I mean, if it has to do with something
Yeah.
board. But we do have a line item, I guess, in the budget. So there are years where, especially if we have a lot of new people, that I do get nervous, like, that we might be running through that, and where are we with that in the budget? Adam has never said, no. He's like,
Yeah.
they're so minuscule. But at the same time, if that ever got like really low when we were really going into the general fund, we would have to relax on that, but that hasn't happened. Okay, moving on. B, community relations. Anybody do a 2? Or a 1?
I had a question about media relations. I know Adam lets us know when he's going to do an interview with the paper or whatever, Fox News, whatever. But to get a 3, it said actively engages the media to promote the district and provide timely and effective information. Do we have proof of that? I didn't know.
I don't know if we, and you can speak to this also.
That job doesn't exist.
I do know, I mean, we don't have like a PR person, but
Right.
I do know, like, whenever we have something big, like press releases go out, I don't exactly know what a press release going out means, I just know he'll say, oh, I'm, contacted and we'll do a press release for this, or whatever. I don't know, when people call you, they're just calling you to do something, or you have, I guess you
Part
speak
of
to
it is
that a little bit more
about
than that.
trying to be proactive with communicating what's going on in the district and not being reactive. So in terms of like our overall communication plan, we're constantly sending out information that we want to be out in our community and maybe even the surrounding communities. And by consistently doing that, it increases the odds that local media, who are always looking for something to report about, are going to see that and then pick up the story. So a lot of the interviews that I do are a result of being proactive about getting them the lead, so they have the idea, and then they can follow up on it with their publications based on our initial efforts to kind of get that story or that information out so they can find it. So I guess that's kind of how we've approached it traditionally in terms of reaching out to media.
I do know anytime anything good is going on, to give a positive academic, athletic, mental health, whatever, Adam is sending stuff to like community leaders, like, when you go in town, we have the state championship signs all over, like he is on it for that type of stuff.
I'm trying to make them
Maybe
aware
that-
of things that are going on
Sure,
too.
yeah.
Like, so if there's a special event going on, I can send an email out to a local reporter and say, hey, you might want to swing by to see whatever it is. And, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But that's kind of the approach. One thing I've also learned just through experience is you also don't need to take every interview request. That was used to be like my, back in my rookie days, if a reporter called, I had to take it, right? I had to do the interview, and don't always have to do that. Some days it just doesn't work out time-wise, and sometimes I just don't really have anything to say depending on what the topic is. So just there's interviews that I don't do as well.
I did a two, and this is a catch-22 for me. So for B2, actively seeks community parent input and engages community. I think he does a good job with that. I think the board kind of that's kind of a goal, I guess, is like bringing them in, having parent nights, not that they're well attended, some maybe more than others. And like with the building, putting, a group of parents and community leaders together when we have the bond and all of that stuff. The kicker for me in this one is parents in goal setting and decision making. Sometimes that decision making is hard because, especially as educators, when you're bringing parents in, like having them part of the discussion, I think is really important. Having them part of the decision can be kind of hairy because we have one set of goals and things and that we have to follow that's totally different than what parents need. So sometimes that's a really fine line of asking input and then not taking it. I am a firm believer, this is just my belief, I'm one person. There was a time many superintendents ago where I had just started working here and we were in a massive financial crisis and we had numerous community events where we bring people in and you sit at tables and you might have a board member, you might not, and it was kind of, and it was incredibly well attended. We blown out of this gym and had to go to the elementary and so we did this several times during the year and not one of the suggestions that came out of that event was ever implemented. And it's kind of like, if you did it for show, that's not a good community builder if there weren't great ideas, so I just think you have to be careful with that. If you're gonna ask for people's opinion and ask them to come in and then not use it over and over again, that doesn't really build a trust, and I don't want to do that. So there's a difference between them forming and using them to help with the decision-making. So I gave him a 2 there, just because I think it's always gonna be developing. I don't think for parents coming in to make decisions, that's just tricky for me.
Well, Adam, can you think of a time where you have engaged parents or community members in goal setting and decision making? Because I can think of one.
So I've also given myself a 2 there, so, but I think it's kind of the leadership philosophy, right? If I genuinely don't know the answer to something and I'm seeking, like I need assistance or I want support with trying to develop an answer, I'm more likely to ask for that input, whether it's from staff or whether it's from community members, parents, what have you. If I already know the answer and I ask you just to check a box and say, like, hey, give me this input, but I already know what I'm doing, then I think that's somewhat disingenuous. So I can give you a couple examples, both related to the bond, big and small, right? So big picture with the bond, right? I think there are good examples of bringing in a steering committee and allowing the steering committee to kind of decide what the priorities of the bond would be. We did a community survey that had, many hundreds of folks from around the community, some connected to the schools and some not, respond to that. I can tell you with the steering committee results, I mean, that's not what I would have done. I mean, not in its totality, right? I had some different ideas, but that was a place where it's a community investment. The community had to buy in, they had to vote for it. There's their tax dollars at work. And so I think that's a big example. I'll give you a small example that's related more towards the staff side, but I think it kind of addresses the same question. It's a smaller thing, but it just came up over the last couple of weeks where, again, I mentioned it earlier in the evening, trying to pick out the color for the new elementary school. I mean, I don't know. Like I really didn't know what color to pick. And so it's kind of a small example, but we sent all the samples down to the building and got feedback from the staff because I really wasn't sure. So I think those are kind of a big example and a very, very small example of times where, when there is genuinely a need to solicit that input, to inform an undecided issue, that those will come out. But I don't know that's done consistently enough for me to give myself a 3, so that was one of the spots I did a 2 as well.
I was between like a 2 and a 3, so if there was like a 2.5, that's where I would
I
be.
did put 2.5, so I wondered about
Okay.
that. You can't use halves.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't use
Then
halves.
I would be in the 2 on that one as well.
I mean, and again, I feel like I'm giving it a 2, not necessarily because of Adam.
Yeah.
I just think it's the circumstance. There's another one in here too. And then I did mine and then looked at what his self-assessment was, and it kind of aligned, so.
But 2 says, does not engage community/parents in consideration of decisions or goals.
Yeah.
So
I
I didn't
think
agree with that.
No, that's a 1.
No, 2.
Doesn't accept,
No, it says
oh,
accepts.
does
in
not
here.
engage, sorry.
Yeah, so
You're
I
right.
didn't agree with that, so I had
Right.
underlined those parts in number 3 and thought, well, do I go with 2 or 3? And then I thought, well, I can't go with 2 because I know he engages community.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I can do, I mean, I can go with 3. I don't have
think in
a,
years past, I would have done a 2, but we have to look, this is his evaluation for this past year, not for his totality that he's been superintendent for. And so this past year, I think that because we know that this has been his personal goal for a long time, how do I get the word out? How do we involve community? How do we take their input and use it in a authentic way? And so I think that mindset, when I know that this is just for the year, and the bond took a lot of that, and there was a lot that came out of those meetings that were parent input and parent led and driven in decision making, that I think that a 3 would be more than fair.
yeah, I can go in with the 3.
so do you want to move B2 to 3? Everybody?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Sarah just gonna.
Okay.
I did have a 2 on the same one Deb was asking about, just because when I looked at developing It's talking about proactive approach to media. And I don't know, there's been sometimes, I think, Adam, that you are proactive in the sense of trying to get the word out, but I think sometimes it is reactive in the sense that they come to you. And the way that I read this, and I may be reading it wrong, but the way I'm reading it is on the 3, it's a proactive approach, meaning that you are always looking for ways, you've developed those relationships, you know, you're contacting those people and saying, hey, you know, we got this parade coming up, are you coming? You know, it's you know, you're proactively thinking ahead.
And you're talking about B3,
B3.
correct? I take it as like all of the positive things we're going, I mean, if we,
I'm just reading what it says.
right,
You
no,
know,
I
And the way
get
I
that.
read, the way I'm looking at it, I mean, developing says isn't proactive, but then the 3
Actively
says
engages
actively
media.
engages the media.
So what would that, I mean, once a month, once a year, like how many times a year?
It's subjective, but
Right.
it says that the person is actively engaging. And the second one says, is cooperative with the media requests. Adam definitely is cooperative. I think if there was
But
a
it says
2.5, I'd
isn't,
say
but it also
2.5.
says isn't
But-
I mean, to me, he's proactive. And this, I think, is where we come down to communication, and this has been a big thing, and we have improved since Adam has been superintendent tenfold.
Hmm?
Yeah, I have for me, it's a very fine line of how much do we continue to communicate. And I
How many
think,
different avenues that we can
right, and
use,
all of
yeah.
the different things that come out and how, like, we have, like, if you think about it, I mean, Adam works way more than an 8-hour day, but let's just say he's working an 8-hour day. How many hours is he going to be spending on this? And I think that's what's hard for me.
Yep.
I mean, sending out those press releases, reaching out to community leaders. I mean, that's the, you know, getting stuff up on the billboards, talking to our staff here. I would say that is actively promoting, you know, he sends the letter out. So,
But
I
this is
guess
talking about, this is specifically talking about media, not the community, not
it is,
people.
but media can be a lot of different things, it's not just TV. I think that can be subjective too.
Yeah, it is. You were gonna say
Well, and
something.
also getting out the news on the electronic board. When
Yes.
that first went up, there was kind of a lull and we weren't seeing school news and Earl was complaining and I said, honey, just call Adam, tell him. You need more school. But he did, I don't think he called Adam, but anyway, the school finally, I think they kicked in and got it as part of the regular sharing of info, and now there's lots of things on that board, and
And I think
people
some
see
of it-
that all the time.
I think also some of it is, how much does our staff let us know what is happening? There have been many times where I have no idea that there's, I mean, especially now that I don't have kids in class, I had no idea that homecoming was this week until Adam put it in the thing. I thought it was in October. I had no idea that, like usually if there is a music performance or a band performance or the play, like I might not know that until the very last minute or things. And some of that is on our staff.
Yeah, you see.
So it,
I'm looking at the rules and it does say we can give half scores, so I don't know if that changes our, like, perspective of this current conversation when you're talking about 2 versus
I
3.
didn't see that.
So
I don't know if
it's up to, like, us, it says
the only thing
to use whole numbers or half numbers. But nothing less.
I mean, we could do a 2 point, so here's my concern is how, if we, will it do it when we
It automatically
calculate your score
tabulates.
with the math?
Yeah,
will?
it did, because it tabulated mine. I used them throughout.
So tell it, I mean, do we wanna go back up to B2 and do 2.5? Or are we gonna leave it a 3? And do we wanna make B3, like, tell me what,
2.5.
2.5 is fine on both.
alright, so you do 2.5 on B2, are we all in agreement?
Adam, when you did your self-assessment, did you know that you could do half points?
No,
Would that have
but,
changed any?
I mean, no, but it's fine, I mean, I don't think it's, would make much of a difference.
I guess I need to hear from more people about this B3.
No,
I don't
feel
want
like
it just to be a go
press
ahead.
releases in this small of an area seems sufficiently proactive to me.
Do we count our website as media? Because that is
Again,
updated all the time.
Podcasts,
Yeah.
newsletters.
Yeah,
I
all
feel
of
like
that
the
is
buzz
up-
update, I mean,
I mean, all of that is,
I would count it as media.
I
We have
tend
the
to
different
lean towards
media
3 on that
specialists
one.
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's,
I'm leaning towards 3.
I would be 3 as well.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on this section? Staff relations. Everybody got the staff thing from Betsy. Any of these to be discussed? Any of these below a 3? Any of these want to?
Oh, I gave myself a 2 on B5, sorry, on the last page.
You're at everything.
Can you, yeah, but,
I've never been to an event that you weren't at.
Yeah, how are you not
But there's a
visible?
difference between, this is what made me look at my notes. There's a difference between approachability, which is B5, and C7, which is visibility in the district. So just comparatively, I think I probably at more events than a typical superintendent, maybe. Approachability is somewhat subjective, so I'm there, I'll talk to people if they come up to me. I think a lot of times at those events, I'm genuinely interested in the event, so I'm not really there to walk around and shake hands and, whatever. I mean, but I'm there and I'll definitely engage with people if they want to talk about something, or I'll come up to people and talk about the event, hey, we gotta come back in the 4th quarter, or whatever it is, right? So that's a piece of it, but I'm not really always there with the mindset of I'm there to walk up and down the bleachers.
It doesn't say that though, it just says that you're approachable. You
Yeah,
can
I think
be approached.
approachability is relative, right? So do you think I'm approachable at one of those events?
So, I think-
I don't know how I would answer that. I guess it depends. A lot of people will just come up to me and talk, and others might feel like they can't. I don't know the answer to that, but I just erred on the side of caution with, we're a little more conservative with the 2 there.
but is it,
I didn't mean to make everybody backtrack. I just noticed when I saw C7 that I think there is a difference between the 2.
well, I want to go then back to B5 because I think, again, when you are at an event after school hours, you are at a ton of that stuff and you can say, hey, I'm here as a parent, usually have your kids with you or whatever.
Well, I'm not there as a parent. I'm with the kids because they have nowhere else to go.
Well,
So they're
But-
coming to the event whether they like it or not.
you're still
but,
a dad. So, but people do still, I mean, we will say this, when we're in school and we're at teacher conferences where there is a parent, but some people can't get that out of your head. So I think you are approachable. I do think, and this is not your problem, that you are a tall man, and to some that might seem intimidating. But again, that's their problem, I think. I've never seen you, I've never seen you shy away from people. I've never seen you not talk to someone. I've never seen you not engage with someone if they came up to you. So
And I think you've become much more approachable as you've moved through your superintendency.
Yeah.
The first staff evaluations we got to what we got now, you
There's a
see a
difference.
big difference in
There's-
how people feel about you and how approachable you are. And I think that's the same in the community too.
I also think that there's, if you go back and watch, if there were a video of the very first opening day you did to the opening day you just did, there's a big difference in your comfortable, being comfortably, I mean, you've always been comfortable in those environments, but you're showing more of your personality that I think that all of us see and are comfortable. So I think if someone's uncomfortable approaching you, that is on them. I guess I don't think that has
I
anything
mean,
to do
just,
with you.
yeah, one example is every morning you are at the outside the
Saying
elementary
good
school.
morning.
I've had superintendents and board members in other districts and parents of even this district say, I don't know any other superintendent that is out there greeting families as they come and even at the end of the day as they leave. So, I mean, that's just one example.
We don't need you running up and down the football field with the
Yeah.
flag. That's okay.
Yeah,
But
don't worry
if
about
you
that one.
wanted to.
You know, I got into it a little bit on Friday, but in a professional way. No, I just, when I was principal at Explore, I had done a survey, and I was in my first year maybe, and I just initiated it on my own with the staff, and one of the things I heard from them was they wished I would spend more time, like, stopping, small talk, right, like things like that, right, more of that interpersonal piece. When we talked about the data, you looked at like the opportunity cost, and it probably fit the dynamics of that staff, which was a very goal-oriented, type A, like we want to get things done group. But I kind of asked, like, would you rather have me spend 10 minutes small talking with you or 10 minutes invested in like moving towards our goals or getting whatever these things are that we all want to accomplish? And they way skew towards get the things done that we want to accomplish. And so, and that was a good fit for me because it's not necessarily a comfort thing, but like when you look at, you only have so many hours in the day, I'd rather be like grinding towards the things that we're trying to accomplish and getting those done and supporting our staff and our students that way in our broader community versus investing that same amount of time in, you know, some of those other things, which are not unimportant, but there's opportunity cost for how you spend your day as well, so. Anyway. All right, I didn't mean to sidetrack us, I just,
No,
that was how I responded.
Okay, going back to C.
When I look at C7, can you give some examples as how you consistently visit classrooms?
Yeah, I've had a goal of mine to try to be in a different school every day. I don't always accomplish it. It kind of depends on what happens, but you know, like today, I made a point to be at the middle school. So I do my lap, or my, you know, and people see me and say, hey, you're doing your rounds, you know, or some, even the kids now will be like, somebody asked me, I think a sixth grader asked today, like, do you have a certain amount of time you're in each of the buildings? And I'm like, no, it's not that prescriptive, right? But yeah, that's a goal to try to get out to each of the buildings, at least one building a day. The proximity of the schools make it obviously easier, not driving, you know, 10 miles to get to a building. But I think just as much as I can, when you're in the school, you get a better perspective of what's going on, the culture, what the kids are talking about, what the staff are talking about. So, not say I'm batting 1,000 there, but that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Well, I know that you are invited to a lot of the special activities, or that you attend all of the ones that you're invited to, I believe most of them. What about classrooms? I mean, do you go into classrooms?
Yeah,
Like, how does that work?
My typical thing is like I'll kind of pop in the doorway and wave and say hello. Unless it's kind of a prearranged thing, like I'm not going to go in there and like watch, you know, take notes on instruction. I think that would kind of make people feel uneasy. Although I love doing that, and you know, we still try to build in times each year where there's inter-rater reliability exercises with the administrators, and I love to go and sit next to a principal and watch a lesson, and then kind of come out and talk about what we saw, and just kind of in a non-evaluative way, but just talk about instruction, which is, you know, the thing, and all the things in education, that's the thing that I find the most interesting. Trying to find opportunities, at least for my own just mental interest, is still important. So, I don't know, did that answer the question? I can't remember who asked, but that's kind of my, Sarah. That's kind of the approach I take with that.
No, that's good to know, because we get updates as to, you know, if this happened this week, and this happened this week, and sometimes we get daily updates, but we don't really see, like, you in buildings.
Yeah. If I catch a teacher during their playing period, I might go on and just, you know, talk about
Yeah.
something, but I also want to be
Mindful.
that like they're trying to get stuff done. And so this might be a free 5 minutes for me, but it's
Yeah.
not for them either, so.
Yeah, when the door is closed, that means I'm working. No one interrupts.
Or if it's open sometimes, so, yeah, I get it.
Any of these that we need to discuss? Moving on to business and finance, any of these?
Nothing there.
Yeah, I think we've. Instructional leadership. I
was gonna say the only one I had a 2 on was E7.
Same.
yeah, me too.
But I think that's been an area that Adam's been working on and continues to work on, and I think it's something that any superintendent would always be developing on.
Right, but I also think I think it's one of those, that was my other catch-22 one. So, I mean, I'm sure if we did a survey and asked all the students what classes they wanted to take, it would not be any of the ones, that we can do.
Or look at
So-
the cell phone survey we did.
This, yeah, like, so, I mean, seeking their, again, I agree, Adam kind of said the same thing I did, asking for their opinion and then not using it, especially with young they're young, high school,
Yeah.
middle school, whatever,
I gave myself a 2 there as well. I think there's
it's
some,
just a hard thing.
I think there's some examples, right? Like there's kind of like funny ones, like the kids at after school for years have asked for a taller fence because their balls would fly out of there and they want to have anything to play with. Like every day after school, hey, when can we get a taller fence? So now they have a taller fence, and that wasn't the only reason, but it was. So that's kind of a funny one. I think a more serious one was maybe a year and a half ago. Surveying the high school students on the effectiveness of academic overtime and our social emotional learning initiative at the high school, and finding out like they were not into what we were doing. So we tried it, a lot of work went into it, and they weren't receptive to that. And so that was difficult data to, we tried, and they basically saying we weren't being successful at meeting them where they were at. And so we changed that considerably, and we have found through continued surveys that we're getting closer to answering the mail for them in terms of that approach. So cell phone would be kind of an interesting example in that, student body at the high school was like united in opposition, right? Like 95% opposed. And so we did ask, but we didn't follow through with what their wishes were for, I think, strong reasons, but sometimes that happens where you can ask the question and it's just not going to work out the way they perhaps wanted. But
I also think you do, like if a student came to you with a concern or a question, you do take that seriously. You do read those emails, or you do meet with them. Students that want a particular class or a particular club, you always, when parents come to us and say, we want you to have this club, it's always, well, is that the student-led? And he kind of pushes it back down to where it needs to go and goes through the thing. So I think we do. Again, I just think this one is a catch-22. We need to be careful when you're asking for that.
we keep trying to bring
Advice.
students into different leadership decision-making opportunities too. It's hard, right? I mean, they're busy.
Yeah,
but,
like how long
we're-
did it take us to get someone, for the,
Yeah. Took forever. Can I back up? I had a question on D.
yeah,
D2, I don't feel like we're lacking any budget information, but I was wondering if you gave it a 3, it says as agreed upon by the governance team, that you're receiving financial reports on a regular basis, monthly or quarterly. But,
I get that on a monthly basis,
okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know.
yeah, based on
Then I'm gonna
what
change
we're
my
required.
ask. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is happening monthly, but I need to ask.
Yeah,
so
but
thank
it's
you.
not something that everybody on the board needs to see.
Okay, that's what I figured. I don't need to see.
You would be very bored if you read through all the check lines,
Okay, thank you.
but I am getting it.
any other questions? Okay, so one last thing, can we?
We need to do G.
I'm sorry,
We need to do G.
we need to do what?
G.
G.
Tab G as well.
Well, you have to do board goals and student growth.
Yep. The other required components on G, which is district-wide goals.
Yeah, yes. I guess tell me, student growth data and progress? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess tell me, what do people have on here?
I had 3.
Nothing less than 3.
I do too. What I wanted to go back and do is, how are we going to, I don't think I want to know like percentage wise, but can we go through and say, which ones maybe are more important? Like, how important is communication versus staff relations, or
Oh, for the weight,
for the weight of them?
the percentage.
Because I don't know,
Can I make a recommendation?
yes, that would be great.
I think the intent of the board, based on the last meeting, was to move through the evaluation model as written.
Mhm.
So I think that for the fidelity of the exercise that we're in the process of, my recommendation would be to use the instrument
Just the
as the
way
way
it
it is, exactly the way it is. I think when that's complete, I have some thoughts I'll share on the structure of the instrument, which the board can consider for next time, but that would be my 2 cents, just to plug it into the score sheet exactly the way it's calibrated, see what it kicks out, and then we can kind of talk about amending the model perhaps in the future, but we would know what it's going to be ahead of time, if the board was so interested in doing that.
The model gives you a 98%.
Yeah.
I just think
That
we
was
need to, I do think for future reference, like, we'll vote on this, at the next meeting in October. Chris, are you okay with that, seeing you won't be here?
Mhm. It's fine.
We'll vote on this, and then we can have discussion, because I do think, it is,
Actually-
the fact that, our staff and administrators have a heavier weight on our board goals than what Adam does, I think we need to correct that. I just don't think that makes absolutely no sense to me, and I just think that needs to be corrected.
Okay.
So whatever your suggestions are.
I have everything in here, so I'll forward that to you and to Betsy. Or do you want it just to you, or you and Betsy?
It can go to Betsy and I, because we're gonna have to, or
Because this is already tabulated, and it is 99%, not 98.
Who sends it?
2.5?
Yeah.
we have to sign it, right? Who sends it to, do we send it to the state, or we just have it if they ask?
So we'll sign the instrument that it was completed using their model. It goes in rep, which is just plugging in what the actual evaluation is. You don't send all the stuff. It's
Right, you
literally
just
just
send it.
recording. So when the board votes to approve the evaluation, which I assume would happen next meeting, result, then that'll get taken by central office and plugged into rep in June, along with all the other applicable educators in the district.
Okay.
Are we good? Can I just make a couple comments on the model now, or do you want to
Yes.
hold that thought?
No, you can,
Yeah, just for something to consider for the future, I think, and my research background's in evaluation, so I'm sure MASD, I know because they have the citations, definitely has a research base that they've used to build on this. I just would point out that, part of it's philosophical, but I think the outcomes in this model are way undervalued in terms of like, why is the superintendent here? Right? They're here to achieve the goals that the board has set forth, either in board goals or strategic plan, whatever the system is that the board utilizes. Ultimately, that's what makes the district as a whole successful or not successful. And so to only value those at 15%, I think is underrepresenting the significance of what the ultimate role of any superintendent is in terms of moving the district forward based on the goals or strategic plan the board has set for them to accomplish. I also think that it way overvalues the inputs. All right, so you can conceivably have a superintendent who's a really good person and, walks around, shake hand, really friendly. Maybe everybody likes them, although they probably won't for long because you got to make decisions, and that's going to make some people upset. Just the way nature of the job. And those inputs could be, you know, really high. It could be a lot of threes, but the goals, the things that you're trying to accomplish aren't being reached, and those are going to be way underrepresented in terms of the overall evaluation. So again, I'm a fan of Jim Collins. He's a business writer, but he really emphasizes the importance of outcomes versus inputs. And I think this model has that reversed in terms of how it weights the percentages. So not anything we need to solve tonight, just putting it out there for maybe a future conversation or something to think about that we can look at down the road.
Just writing that.
And I'd make the board goals worth like 50% of the evaluation, because I mean, that's what
That's
we're
what
trying to
you're
do,
for,
like that's the
right.
work. All the other stuff are the prerequisites that get you to the point where those things are happening, but, so anyway, that's my 2 cents.
All right, so more to come with that. Can I have a motion for our consent calendar?
I make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on August 25th, 2025 as presented.
Second. So I have a first Sarah, second Heather. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I have 2 roll call votes. Can I have one for the resolution, for the budget resolution? There was a correction, so for the correction.
Be it resolved that the general fund appropriation for the Williamston Community Schools District for the fiscal year 2024-25, which includes 18 mills of ad valorem property taxes to be levied on non-homestead and non-qualified agricultural property, and 0 mills on homestead, are qualified agricultural properties and qualified agricultural properties to be used for operating purposes, be adopted as follows. Revenues, local, $3,002,756. State, $21,930,981. Federal, $870,399. Incoming transfers and other transactions, $1,754,909, with a total revenue of $27,559,046. Unappropriated fund balance, $6,915,762. Total available to appropriate, $34,474,808. Be it further resolved that $28,051,303 of the total available to appropriate in the general fund is hereby appropriated in the amounts for the purposes set forth below. Expenditures, instruction, basic programs, $12,358,226. Added needs, $3,105,131. Adult and continuing education, 0. Total instruction, $15,463,357. Support services, pupil services, $1,997,424. Instructional staff services, $1,512,074. General administration, $549,077. School administration, $1,672,532. Business services, $5,974,839. Total support services, $11,705,946. Facilities acquisition, $800,000. Total support services, $800,000. Other financing uses, long-term debt, $82,000. Total other financing uses, $82,000. Total expenditures, $28,051,303. Total appropriated, $28,051,303.
I second it.
Will you take us through roll call, Amanda, please?
Amanda, yes. Chris?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Heather? Yes. Sarah?
Yes.
And Nancy?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Can I have a motion for our final budget resolution?
Make a motion that the Williamston Board of Education hereby certifies the following tax levies for 2025 winter property tax collections, and that the Secretary and Vice President of the Board of Education may sign the final certification of taxes for all taxing units. For collection within the townships of Alladin, Leroy, Locke, Leadfield, and Williamstown, 18.0 mils for general operations, non-homestead only, 2.5 mils for the 2024 debt, 1.14 mils for the 2015 refinancing, 3.44 mils for the 2015 school bond loan fund refinancing, 0.76 mils for the 2021 school bond loan fund refinancing, 0.7283 mils for the recreation fund, 0.9775 mils for the sinking fund, for collection within the Township of Meridian and the City of Williamston, 9.0 mils for general operation non-homestead only, 1.25 mils for the 2024 debt, 0.57 mils for the 2015 refinancing, 1.72 mils for the 2015 school bond loan fund refinancing, 0.38 mils for the 2021 school bond loan fund refinancing, 0.3642 mils for the recreation fund, 0.4888 mils for the sinking fund.
Second?
Okay, so I heard Sarah. Will you take us through roll call, please?
Amanda, yes. Chris?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Heather?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
And Nancy.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We do have one correspondent about Daniel Foss's retirement. Just want to say, you know, it's getting to that time where all these teachers that I used to work with that have been pillars of this community are starting to move on to the second chapter of their life, which I'm so excited for her. Her husband's been retired for several years now. And, you know, she gets to visit her kids whenever she wants and is going to move on to bigger and better things. But this, again, is going to leave a big hole in our district. So I wish her the very best and hope that this year is just full of joys and butterflies and happiness for her.
Yeah, is it okay if I add?
Yes, please
Yeah,
do.
I think, as Nancy alluded to, Danielle is truly like the embodiment of like a Williamston person, right? Like she's like all in on the community, all in on the schools. I think this is one of the many reasons why we need more housing, so that our newer staff can kind of continue that tradition of being all in, but you really gotta have to be here, right, to have all of those components have their respective boxes checked. But Danielle has really been incredible to work with. I've had the good fortune to work with her in many different capacities. Her student achievement data, we look at that, which I realize is something that most people will never look at, but we see it, is just phenomenal in terms of the student growth that takes place in her classroom over the course of a year. Her classroom management style is really unique. She is like super direct with the kids, but she does it in a way that you know, they love her. And it's just hard to explain, but you know, you're here in the hallway like, I need everyone on my silver line, you know, the kids just, you know, they get right on the line. You know, it's just a unique and super effective management style. Great member of an awesome third grade team. So yeah, she'll be a big loss for us, but I also know she's got some fun plans, and she's definitely done more than her fair share as an educator in her district. So wish her the best.
We do not have any citizens in the audience, I don't believe, unless, would you like to make a comment as a citizen? No. Board member reports and requests. I have a couple. The first one, I do kind of want to go on record of I was not able to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for the tennis facility. I don't know who else was there. I know Sarah spoke and Heather. Was anybody else able to attend? I saw the video that Adam sent. I had talked to some parents who were very thankful for the new tennis courts. I said, you know, that community pulled together and, you know, we were able to do the bond. I would, though, like to, they weren't necessarily part of the ribbon cutting ceremony. The boosters, I think, did that. But there were some people, I think, missing from that line, cutting that ribbon. I think Adam has put in a significant amount of time into this project. I understand he wants to be behind the camera, but that tennis court would not have been done and would not have been the first thing on the list to get done if it wasn't for him. I also think Brandon has put in a significant amount of time. This guy works way over those allotted hours. I think he should have been there cutting that ribbon also. I think Sarah has taken enough time sitting in these financial meetings and continuing to let us know what we can spend and what we have and where we go. But definitely two people I believe are missing from that scissor cutting were Adam and Brandon. So I do thank them for getting this done and making this happen so those kids could play this year on those courts, because they are spectacular. So thank you for that. Yeah. Second, I love, as I had mentioned before, that cheerleading was out here practicing and hearing all those young kids. I'm sure they weren't all in high school, they look like elementary kids.
They're practicing for Friday.
So I mean no ill will, they can be here every Monday and cheering and everything. I am a little hesitant, I do feel bad that they were as loud as they were, which I love on one side, but during Ann's presentation, she kind of got drowned out a little bit. So in the future, if we have like a special guest coming, if we could find is there a different space for them? Or am I
Yeah.
the only one that was kind of like
There was
feeling really bad? That,
tonight's meeting didn't show up on their calendar, so they actually came in before the meeting to apologize. So I think they had all the other meeting dates, but this one for some reason, so that's why.
I just kind of officially want to apologize to her. I think this was just a great event, and I feel bad that she kind of got drowned out a little bit. I did have someone text me who was trying to watch and said they could hear the cheerleaders over the thing, which I think is amazing, and I love it. And at any other time, it wouldn't bother me. I just feel bad for her, so I kind of apologize a little bit. And then Friday is homecoming, so I know Chris can't be there. Is there anyone else who cannot be there or is not walking in the parade with us, or for the board? So then the next question is, so last year, we can't throw candy from a truck, you have to pass it out. So the majority of you walked, and Sarah and I were the only two in the truck, and it was a little uncomfortable. So, how many of you, so are we Heather has a Jeep that if people wanted to ride, we could sit in.
But it won't hold all.
But it won't hold all of us, so how many of you want to walk and pass out candy? How
We
many
have a
of you
truck available if mostly just wanna sit.
sit? Yeah,
And maybe one or two pass out candy. It's whatever the board wants to do, we have options, but we need to know.
but I
what
need to
your
know
intentions
what
are.
your thought is.
I would like to walk.
I would like to
I
walk.
like throw candy.
You
Okay,
wanna throw candy, so you're walking.
so you're walking,
I will walk in spirit.
all right.
So Jeep.
So then,
I can drive.
all right, so how about if we just use your Jeep and we'll see
Yeah.
who's gonna sit in it, or whatever? Cause the big truck last year,
Yeah. And the weather looks great, so
Yeah.
no rain in the forecast.
There was-
right
yeah.
now, So,
yeah, okay. All right, so that's taken care of. I think we have to line up.
well, it says lineup is at 5, so like the Jeep should be there at 5, but I don't think that we need to be there until
Yeah, I
10
don't even
minutes
know,
before.
what time is the parade? 6? I don't
6.
even know anymore.
As long as you're there before we
As long as
roll
you're
out.
there before we go. I will get candy. I will bring big bags of candy. Also, seeing we're here, let's try to hold off on one of the big bags of candy until we like get to the very end or turn, because I
Yeah.
feel like those poor kids there get nothing.
There's a lot at that turn as you're going
Yeah,
to the stadium.
and
we
we're
always
like,
run out right
"Ah."
there.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other board member reports, requests?
Next week is 5th grade camp, so if any board members
Next week
are
is fifth grade
around
camp already?
and wanna head on out, Adam's gonna get his lanyard out, and
Is it back at the bottom?
yes, yep, so,
Next week, 5th grade camp already, my
Yeah.
gosh.
I know.
Don't these
But
things
hopefully
happen in
weather-
October?
Nice.
What?
Weather was looking good, so,
They'll probably be sweating, like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. yeah.
Oh. fifth
Well,
grade
if you're
camp.
around and you just wanna make it out there,
It's fun to
you're
watch
welcome
in there.
to just go out for a couple minutes or a little bit longer, whatever you have availability for.
request. I became aware of a student group at the high school that doesn't have they lost their faculty advisor, which means they can't meet at the high school. So I would like to know, I don't know if that's something Dr. Delp could, I mean, I can follow up with him. I don't know, or maybe you might just know the answer to that question and could tell me afterwards, but I would like to know. And I'm curious if someone like myself could be an advisor. Like, can only teachers advise student groups?
That's a good question, I don't.
So we can have non-teachers serve in Appendix A positions if that's the question. We have obviously quite a few folks that aren't educators that are various roles. So yeah, there's flexibility there.
But I would talk to Adam, let him know what group that is and figure out.
Board members are different in that you would be compensated and there's some conflicts there. But as far as
But a
non-board
parent.
members of the community or whoever is interested, yeah, we have quite a few of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I would talk to Adam when you're done and see what that is about. Anything else? All right, I will take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right, so I heard Sarah and then I heard Chris for second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,